All right, right now we all know about what's been going on. At least if you have an iPhone, or you've had that iOS 8 and everything else, there's been some problems going on, and I'm calling it Applegate. And joining us right now on the KDON Live line to talk about Applegate, usually he's on Fridays with us, but I asked him to come on today, is Kevin Richards, and with Ventura Web Design to talk about Applegate. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Alan, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing okay, better than some of the people who go, my phone is bending. Help me. My phone's bending and I can't unbend it.
Phone's bending, cell service is down, Touch ID doesn't work. I mean, the list goes on and on, right?
Well, let's start out with the phones bending, the bending phones. What's with that? I mean, first of all, let me say one thing before you answer. I don't get people putting phones in their back pocket, their hip pocket. I don't understand that. I never understood that. And so, you get what you deserve, I guess. I don't know. Tell me about this.
Well, I mean, you do run the risk of sitting on the phone, but I don't think that's necessarily the biggest concern. I think the bigger concern is the skinny jeans. They're sliding them in these tight little pants and then sitting on it, and that's where they're getting the bend. But so the thing is, you've got a really thin phone in your pocket. The 6 Plus is really the one where this has been reported the most.
Mm-hmm.
Apple's saying that they've got a total of 6 complaints so far. I'd really like to see those numbers now that they kind of put that number out there. But they also said they've sold more than 10 million of these devices during just the first weekend alone. So to get 10 complaints out of 10 million, not such a big story. Consumer Reports has finally gone out there and they've done their own test, and they say that the iPhone can withstand up to 80 pounds of pressure.
80 pounds of pressure. That's 80 pounds. Does that mean a person who weighs 80 pounds, like 78, 70, that it's not going to bend, but if they like 85 or 100 pounds, it might bend?
What they're saying is they don't think that any phones are supposed to bend, because the way they did the test was a pinpoint, or not really a pinpoint, but a very focused 80 pounds. So they used a tool that applied that amount of pressure to one specific spot on the phone, and it took that much pressure to actually start to bend the phone. That's not how you normally sit on a phone. You're going to apply the pressure evenly when you sit on a phone. The other thing is about this pressure test, 80 pounds, it took 80 pounds to break 4 pencils, according to Consumer Reports. So you put 4 pencils together, you know how strong that is to break if you tried to break it in half in front of yourself. 80 pounds would knock out 4 pencils. I don't think you're going to.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about these big bottom gals and guys, I guess, they got big butts, and they sit on that thing and it just crushes. I can picture, the phone going, help me, and then just bending, are you going to wind up? I mean, we've seen the pictures of some of these phones, with tears and stuff like that. It's
well, what's worse is you've got some kids going into Apple stores and trying to, put on their own YouTube show. They record themselves bending the phones in the stores.
By sitting on them?
No, just actually taking their hands and bending them.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Okay. Well, that's nuts. All right. So, but I, again, I never understood putting a cell phone in your hip pocket. I mean, I have a wallet in my hip pocket, and if you see what it looks like, I mean, the corners are bent because, my butt on that thing, whenever I sit, I mean, eventually it bends. And so, I can imagine
I like what you said right there. You led us right into the perfect conversation. The millennials see the phone as their future wallet. They're not going to be carrying a wallet. You've got Apple Pay coming out that will allow you to do everything you need with your phone. All the credit card information will be stored on the phone. You're not going to need to be carrying around a big, huge wallet anymore.
All right. I mean, I know, I get that. It's just that I would think they would carry it in the front pocket. But okay. I mean, whatever you want to do, but so we don't have to worry about the phones bending. Only some have bent, but they're going to replace them, obviously, right?
Apple's saying that, yes, they're going to take care of their customers as they always have.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
I think it's going to be a very quiet taken care of. It's funny. You called it Applegate, where a lot of people online are calling it Bendgate, and that's also a reference to AntennaGate, which was their mistake they made in 2010. You remember the iPhone 4s had a problem with the antenna not working so well.
Correct, right. Well, I'll just call it Applegate in general. All right, I'm going to head over to traffic, but I want to come on back and talk about this iOS 8. I have not downloaded it. I don't plan to right now, so I'll tell you why, and we'll see what kind of bugs are being worked out of that. A lot of stuff going on, and I've got Kevin Richards joining us, special option this today, just because of what's going on with Apple products. There are products with problem with the phones bending and this iOS 8. Very, very skeptical. We'll come on back and talk about that and more in just a moment. Right now on the KDON Live line is Kevin Richards. He is with the Ventura Web Design. By way of disclosure, they designed my website and allenstock.com. And Kevin, I appreciate you being with me this morning. So we're talking Applegate this morning, and we talked about the iPhones, some were bending, but not too many. What about this iOS 8 stuff, which I have not downloaded, which people are saying, I've heard people saying they're having problems with it.
Well, definitely they're having problems with it. One of the biggest problems is it had an issue with the Touch ID. Do you have the 5S where you have the fingerprint ID on there?
I do, and it never worked properly, and so I don't use it. I mean, it never did. I mean, I put my thumb in there or whatever. I didn't work with a thumb, so I tried another finger, and I didn't work, so I tried another finger. I got 10 of them. So,
Apple might say that you better get your fingers checked because that thing works.
Well, I've tried it with all my different fingers. I haven't tried it with my toes, but I've tried it with my fingers, and it doesn't work. And so I just let that particular thing go. But so it's not working with the iOS 8 either, huh?
Well, so that was the problem. The very first update that shipped with the phone was 8.0.1, and that caused a couple different things to go down. One was the Touch ID. So if you were relying on the Touch ID, you couldn't get past it. You couldn't get into your phone correctly. So it did what's called turning your phone into a brick, because it had no value other than just sitting there and looking like a brick on the desk.
Because you couldn't get into it.
Yeah, you couldn't get into it.
But I thought there was always an alternative. You can always plug some numbers in.
Well, you can get into it. There's always ways to get into it. You can do a reboot. There's other things you can do, but the bottom line was if you had the over-the-air updates turned on, you got this update automatically sent to your phone. It was only actually out in the wild for a couple of hours, but that was enough to affect hundreds of thousands of users. And the other thing it would do is it would kill your cellular service. You would end up being unable to make calls in certain cases. There were other less worrisome issues like the HealthKit apps weren't working correctly. You weren't able to correctly ask to buy something for your family sharing options. A couple little things here and there, but really it was kind of a big deal that you couldn't get on the cell phone or you couldn't receive calls. It would automatically send your calls to voicemail in certain cases. It would not deliver text messages. Basically, you thought you had a phone that was working, but either you weren't receiving the information or the no service signal was on there.
So what's going on with Apple now? I mean, they're a great product, and all of a sudden we're getting all these problems with Apple.
Well, I think there's simply more of a spotlight being shined on them. Anytime you get a company that just rises to the top and does such a good job, everybody's looking for any opportunity to bring them down. So that's why you see when there's such a small amount of people complaining about their phones bending. This all started with somebody taking a video and putting it on YouTube and saying, "Oh, look, my phone's a little bit bent." And we don't know anything about the guy. We just know his phone was bent, and suddenly this is a big, huge deal. And you get reports of it across all the major media.
All right. So, all right. What about these over-the-air updates now?
So over-the-air updates, that's a way for you to get the information about for you to update your iOS whenever it's available automatically. You can also do this with your apps on your phone, so you've always got the latest apps and the latest fixes to the apps. So in general, it's a good idea because you've got the best security in place. But every now and then, as we've seen, the update will not be exactly perfect, and you'll end up with something being broken. And you just, that's the way computers go.
But why? Okay. So, in other words, we're supposed to just hold our breath when we update the phones with all the different apps and hope that it works out. And if not, we got to go through a whole process of getting it fixed by taking it back to the store?
Well, you have to determine your willingness and your level of comfort. If you are perfectly happy with your phone, my wife, for example, perfectly happy with her phone. She has not even upgraded to iOS 8 yet. She's still back on the last version. She's totally happy with it. Her strategy is after a couple of months, then she'll do it. She uses her phone constantly for work, so she can't have something go down. So the risk reward isn't there for her. For me, I love all the new features. I think the new usability.
Well, you're a techie. I mean, you're a junkie,
right,
so
exactly.
I get it. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you just got to look at your tolerance, and if you're going to be very upset if something goes wrong, then yes, you should hold off. Don't be on the bleeding edge of technology. Give it a minute to catch up and let other people like us try it out and report the bugs for you.
Okay, well, I will, I appreciate your talking to me this morning about this. I am not going to go ahead and update mine with the iOS 8. I, like your wife, I'm very comfortable, and I operate, with what I do, and I can't afford to have it go down. So I will wait also until, when they perfect these things, and then eventually maybe do it. We'll see.
Well, I'll tell you when that perfection happens, and you can download immediately after that, all right?
I'll do it. I do it. Last time I tried something, it went haywire, but it was because of a corrupted hard drive on my iMac.
I do remember that. I remember that happening. So, hey, I got to say thank you for having me on Tuesday. I'm excited to be followed by Karen. I'm usually the warm-up act for a dog, right?
Yes, you are. And but she's very attractive, and you won't be able to see her, but she's going to be in studio talking about the margins tax. And I appreciate your spending a little extra time with us. But we will do it again on Friday, as we usually do. Okay?
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. I mean, we had to do this extra one, and Friday there's going to be a ton more.
Excellent. I appreciate it very much. Kevin Richards with Ventura Web Design. Go to allenstock.com on the right-hand side of the page. You'll be able to see the Ventura Web Design logo. Click onto that, and you'll be able to contact Kevin Richards or the other folks at Ventura Web Design. Thanks for being with us this morning. We'll talk. In fact, you'll be in studio with me on Friday.
It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, too. Take good care.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Richards joining us right here at News Talk 720 KDWN. KDW.